Well, I have, first, what's going on YouTube? Welcome back to a Therapeutic Edge. It's nice to have you here. I've got something on the table that's really different for me and for the channel. I have a traditional slip joint traditional knife. I don't usually do these, but when I saw the pictures of this one, and of course it is from our friends at RoseCraft Blades, this one is designed by Andy Armstrong. If you have any of the old Rough Rider stuff, you know that Andy has a great eye for design. And so when this thing started to populate, I said, yup, I would like to check that out. Now, this did come from the folks at RoseCraft. That was nice of them to send this along. It's just an interesting cutting tool. It's good size, right? Feels good in the hand. It's got a little pry bar built into it, which I think is very cool, by the way. So let's take a look at what you get. This is the Appalachian Jack. It is D2 Micarta on steel liners. My particular version has got no spacing gapping on the back. The Micarta has no voids. Walk and talk. I have had these before. It's very snappy. And of course, it has a marvelously pointy, stabby blade on it. This is a really cool little knife. Okay, let's take a look at what you get. You get 2 3/4 of cutting on 3 1/4 inches overall of D2 steel. The grip area, of course, is the full length of the handle, so it's coming in at 3 3/4 all the way back here to the end of the swell. This particular pattern lends itself really well to a full grip. The way this thing is locked in place, well, not locked, but the way that it's held in place by the spring tension, you can put an awful lot of pressure on this thing before it'll close, right? So you can hold this knife really effectively. It's got a lovely little ramp here. So for cutting or whittling or whatever you're going to do, you could feather stick with this thing all day long. It's got no sharp edges, so it's very comfortable in hand. Snap on the close is really satisfying, that sound. This is a great little knife. It is. These are about $35, $35.99. I'll post a link in the description. I have a discount code. It's just, well, I'll post it in the description. If you go down there, you can check it out, as well as a link to their website where you can find these if they're still available. But if not, there are other excellent choices. While this isn't necessarily my specific kind of knife anymore, there is no denying that it's beautiful. And it is. Also, I'd like to share for a minute why it isn't my kind of knife anymore. It's not because there's anything wrong with this type of knife. Absolutely the opposite. These are classic and enduring for a reason. It's just that when I was a kid, and I'm 51, this is kind of all there was. This and backlogs, really. And that means that while I am nostalgic for them a little bit, as something I choose to carry, there are just other choices. However, the resurgence, the sort of modern resurgence in this sort of traditional knife has really brought great things to the table. So if you like this style of knife, this is a fantastic and budget-friendly way to lean back into them. You get a fantastic design. It's beautiful, as I said, from a great designer. Andy Armstrong he's a remarkable human being. He works for a great company. The folks at RoseCraft are doing a great job. You just get a great knife for not a lot of money, and it will ring all of the sort of nostalgic bells while being in modern materials and big. I mean, it's not enormous by any stretch of the imagination, but it's also not... Hang on, let me see if I can find what I'm talking about. Yeah, okay. So, this is where my head goes when I think of sort of, traditionals, the sort of slip joints, right? This is the size that my dad, for instance, would have carried in his pocket every day for decades. This is the kind of knife that I grew up on. This one's dirty because it lives in my backpack. It's beautiful, right? But it's tiny. We do differently now. We carry bigger knives. We do other things with our knives. So this is not tiny. This is a full-size pocket knife just done in a traditional pattern with a little additional edge to it, if you will. I really like it. To be fair, all of the various slip joints that Andy has designed over the years have appealed to me from an aesthetic place. They're just cool looking. I have a few of his older designs. And likely I will pick up more of these now that I've had one in hand. Fit and finish on this is very well done. And just look at it. From a person who loves edged tools place, the Appalachian Jack here is just a really nice knife. And again, it makes good noises. There is one thing I would say, and Andy, if you're listening, is that if the pry bar is a little rounded at the tip. Now, that's to keep it from being too sharp in the pocket, I think, but this could be a little sharper to work a little better as a pry. Just a thought. The pins that hold the micarta in place are perfectly smooth. As I said, there's no gapping and no spacing. Model number on this one is the RCT003. So let's do some size comparisons with more sort of commonly held tools, shall we? I think it's going to be right in line, of course, with the bug out. As you can see, they are very similar in size. And if we put it up against a full-size grip, you can see it's smaller than the grip. There are places where locking knives are against the rules. There are people in your life and in mine that may see the utility in something like the bug out here, but to them, you know, a pocket knife looks like this. So you can get them into knives, for instance, bring them into this world, if you will, with something like this. It does both. It is the sort of classic pattern and a very classic and beautiful appearance, but the sizing of it takes you somewhere else, and I really like that about it. Andy, you did a really good job. So I wonder how much of that D2 they give you. Let's take a look, just because I'm curious. 2.75 millimeters, a reasonably nice slice of D2 back at the thickest point. It does have a really nice edge. It has a lovely high flat grind, although it is a relatively narrow blade, but it still comes down to a very acute edge. Ours came out of the box pleasantly sharp. Let me see if I got a piece of paper handy. And I do. Let's see. Yeah. Slicey enough. I'm not really good at paper cutting. Yeah, that's nice. A little bit on a stone, you could probably smooth that into an absolute razor blade. The folks at RoseCraft continue to produce knives that I really enjoy. You've seen a bunch of them on this channel. I didn't think that I was going to lean into and do the traditionals that they had coming out, but I got to tell you, it's very pokey. If this is any indication of the quality of tool that they are producing for the 35 bucks, I'm in. This is a fantastic knife to just drop in a backpack or a go bag or just drop in your pocket and take off. It's got all of Andy's sort of passion for knives mixed with his understanding of what these traditional patterns are supposed to look like. My cat is now making noise. That makes me really happy, and I think it would make you happy too if you're into this sort of knife. So there we have it. This is the Appalachian Jack from the folks at RoseCraft Blades, designed by Andy Armstrong. It is part of their new line of traditionals that have begun to drop. Once again, there'll be a description in a description. There will be a description of the knife and also a link to it in the description I was just mentioning. Feel free to check that out. I'll have my discount code there as well if you're so interested. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.